Hi, I'm Sam Silverstein, and today I have a wonderful friend and guest to share with you, Tom Fox, who is known as the Compliance Evangelist, and he is the author of the Compliance Handbook, among other writings. And welcome. It's great to have you here, Tom.
Sam, I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
All right, so here's where I want to go, because you're all over compliance, ethics, and I mean, you're known literally around the world. For my viewers who don't know you, Tom's a big deal. And so I know something came down from the Department of Justice recently. We've talked about this. Share a little bit about what's going on.
Sure, Sam. Last year, the Department of Justice issued its Evaluation of Corporate Compliance Programs 2019 guidance. It was the Department of Justice's most recent pronouncement on what they believe constitutes a best practices compliance program. The thing that intrigued me the most, or at least one of the things, was that the Department of Justice mentioned culture.
Oh, I love that.
Times.
Yeah.
And although they had spoken about culture in the past, they really emphasized culture. It was not simply what is your culture. It was not simply how do you assess your culture. It was how do you assess your culture? How do you measure your culture? How do you monitor your culture? How do you remediate poor culture? And then how do you use that information going forward on an ongoing basis to continually improve your culture? So culture has become at the forefront of the compliance practitioner's mind in a way it had not been done previously.
So the Department of Justice is using their analysis of culture to determine if you are making your best effort to operate as an organization in an ethically and compliant manner. Is that what it boils down to?
It boils down to that, except that it's much more expansive than that. Remember, what gets measured is what gets improved and is what people work on. Well, now the Department of Justice has told us, we want you to measure your culture. We want you to set a baseline for your culture. We want us to improve your culture, or we want you to improve your culture, and more importantly, we want you to use the information you get from measuring it to feed back into your system, and I have to say this, document everything you've done, because if the Department of Justice comes knocking, you're going to have to prove to them you've done this.
Well, this is really awesome because, as you know, and we've worked together on this, is with our accountability index, we have the ability to go into an organization and actually document where their culture is, not just with things like engagement, but where accountability is in their organization, and then use that as a baseline to then measure from to determine what are we going to do as far as how we're going to take action moving forward to improve the culture, to make the culture exactly what we want it to be, and then come back a year from now and measure what the progress is. So using something like the accountability index is going to help our clients meet the requirements and certainly look good with the Department of Justice.
Absolutely, Sam. I think most compliance practitioners understand they need to assess their culture, and many companies do that, but they don't take the second, third, fourth, and fifth steps that you just articulated. And if the DOJ ever comes knocking, they're not going to be able to show we've met these requirements.
And our goal is to help an organization create a culture that inspires and prioritizes accountability. And what we know is that when you do that in your culture, when you create a culture that inspires accountability, and we measure that, then what happens is it's a culture that's also going to inspire people to operate ethically, and it's a culture where rather than trying to force people to be compliant or to make sure that they're in compliance in the areas that they need to be, they choose to be in compliance. And when people choose to do something, that's always more powerful than when you try to force them to do it.
It's much more powerful, but let me take it a couple of steps further, because if you have that kind of accountability, if you have a culture of compliance within your organization, your business processes will be more efficient, and at the end of the day, you'll be more profitable.
Isn't that great? So we're going to build a culture that people actually enjoy. They want to be there. They want to come to work. They're engaged. Productivity goes up. You're making sure that you're hitting all the right check boxes with regards to compliance. You're creating an accountable organization. And at the end of the day, you're maximizing your bottom line.
Absolutely.
I love it. Hey, Tom, listen, it's always great to spend time together. Love being on your podcast. For those of you that are watching, be sure and check the box below. I'll have links to Tom's podcast so you can get in touch with him as well, and I'll see you next time.